hump day, my friends, and welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. And on today's episode of the Prime, me and Izzy are going to help you get your fantasy football team lineup ready to go for Thursday night and then for Sunday afternoon football. Thank you very much for joining us here at Prime Sports World. I'm, of course, your host, David On Point Huppin. Right there, Mr. Izzy Rivera, plugged in with me on the Fantasy Football Show. This is Prime Sports World. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast if you like what we are doing here at the Prime. And if you have any questions about any fantasy-related stuff, please drop that down in the comment section as we will be answering your questions live on the air, as long as you pop those questions into the comments. I'm David Huppman, Israel Rivera. Happy Wednesday, my friend. How are you, buddy? What's up?
Doing good, man. Just another day, another dollar. Happy hump day, and ready to get this show on the road. Thursday night football tomorrow, so hope you guys get set and ready.
How did fantasy go for you this week?
3-1. 3-1. I'm still trying to get off the schneid and greatest people, but that's all right. It's all right, as long as I'm 75%, winning every week, I'll take that.
Yeah, I finished 1-3 this week. I got Joe Burrow on two. I got Joe Burrow on two of my fantasy teams, who went down early, and I lost both of those matchups where I have Joe Burrow. So
yeah. And I don't know what's going on in my greatest people in greatest people. I'm running up against the wall every 2 weeks. Both weeks. I think I went up a guy that my team only scored like 80, and the other guy scored freaking 100. I also scored 97 last week.
Last week
I had Michael Penix Jr. That's why five fantasy points last week.
Well, it was a tough week all around for quarterbacks. Josh Allen only had like 10 fantasy points because they really leaned hard in their running game. If you had Joe Burrow, most people had Joe Burrow, probably started him. He had 8 points before he went out of the game. He was destined to have a really good fantasy week, but now we'll never know because he was literally injured and never came. And now you could probably in most formats, he's probably droppable. I would not hold on to him if you're like a Joe Burrow owner.
I'm going to say something. We're going to get to some positions where I'm going to pose some questions of who's startable, who's unstartable at this point. Guys that you picked up in, some high draft picks.
Yeah.
And
are we talking about like AJ Brown? Like if you're
I'm talking about like TJ Hawkinson.
I think there are better tight ends that you could start over TJ Hawkinson.
I got Juwan Johnson on my bench, and he had 15.
I would start Juwan Johnson.
Absolutely.
And we'll get to that when we get to the tight end rankings. But please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Drop us down in the comment section if you got any questions about anything fantasy related or anything really related, I guess, if you want to. Let's get right into them quarterbacks. I got Josh Allen at number 1. I think he's going to bounce back against the Miami Dolphins tomorrow night. Look for Josh Allen to have a fantastic, virtuoso performance maybe tomorrow against the Miami Dolphins there in South Beach. Dak Prescott, number 2, going up against my Chicago Bears. I expect it to be a high-scoring game. Look for both of these offenses to put over 30 points on the board when it's all said and done. And then number 3, Lamar Jackson. Yeah, I probably a little bit too low on Lamar Jackson given how good he's been so far this season. 5 touchdowns 2 weeks in a row, I do believe. But Baltimore, I think they should be able to win that game fairly easily. So look for them to just kind of actually go with Lions. I think that's going to be high scoring back and forth affair. I probably am too low on Lamar Jackson, even though I got him at 3. 4, Jalen Hurts, the Philadelphia Eagles. Solid matchup for the Philadelphia Eagles there, going up against the Los Angeles Rams in a rematch of the divisional. He's going to have to probably throw for more than 150 yards in this game in order to beat the Rams. So we'll see how that shakes out. And then 5, Jared Goff going up against Lamar Jackson, the Ravens. Yeah, I expect that to be a really high-scoring game. It could be one of the more entertaining games of the season. I guess nothing will really top that Buffalo Ravens game, but this is going to be right up there, I think. 6, Baker Mayfield. He's just been steady ever since he's been the tip. Really, since he's been in the NFL. When he's given an actual opportunity to be a productive quarterback and has with the team behind him, Baker Mayfield has been awesome. 7, Drake May. I like you got Drake May at 7 too. I think Drake May. His his rushing totals kind of keep his value kind of like steady because he gives you the rushing. I think he's had a rushing touchdown in back-to-back weeks. I just look for Drake May to continue that kind of dual threat play. I don't love his pass catching players. Like, I mean, Hunter Henry is probably his best one. Sean Boutte, whatever you think of him, he's had a pretty good start to this season. And then number 8, I got Caleb Williams. What I expect to be a shootout against the Dallas Cowboys. What should be a get-right game for this offense for the Chicago Bears. Justin Herbert, who has just been on laser focus so far this season. Just really efficient with the football. And he's giving you a little bit of that rushing yards too. So Justin Herbert's been a sneaky, really good play in fantasy. If you haven't been lucky enough to have him on your team. And then 10, I got Kyler Murray going against the San Francisco 49ers. If you watched the show we did yesterday, I predicted Arizona to win that game. And I think if they're going to win the game, Kyler Murray's got to be heavily, heavily involved. And then my outside looking in, I got Danny Jones for the Indianapolis Colts. There's no way to shake it out. I mean, the Colts have just been awesome with him under center. This looks like a team that can win the NFC South, or the AFC South. Not that saying a ton because that division's historically been weak over the last 5 years. But Danny Dimes is turning some heads there in Indianapolis. Michael Penix Jr., that's a pretty good matchup going against the Carolina Panthers. He should be able to do some damage there. And then Jordan Love going against the Cleveland Browns. I got him at number 3. They haven't really asked Jordan Love to really go out there and win games. He's not going to have to do that in this one either. But Jordan Love should have a pretty good outing against the Cleveland Browns. And then my sneaky and daily, I got Drake May at 5,300 for the New England Patriots. And I got Mac Jones at 5,000, a game that could potentially be like a little bit high scoring there with Arizona and the Niners. I liked what I saw at Mac Jones in his first week as a starter. Played fairly well in that game. So that's what I got.
Yeah. Well, definitely, if you got a quarterback in the top 3, they're gonna do really, really well. Don't knock yourself for having Lamar Jackson at number 3 because even though I got him at 3, I still think I'm probably too low on Lamar Jackson. Like, he's been outstanding this season. Like, he has. His completion percentage is insane. Like his just pinpoint accuracy. Like he's totally like he's shaking become
off
the
like,
best.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the naysayers that said that he's a runner. He's turned into quite the pocket passer.
And I mean, you can basically, based on the week, I mean, Josh Allen and him are the best players in the league, which one of those two guys every week are the premier player in the National Football League right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting to that, yes, nice little segue into that because I got Lamar Jackson as my number 1 fantasy quarterback this week. I think that Detroit Lions game is going to be a shootout. If we thought, the Buffalo, Ravens game was, a shootout number 1 for the Ravens, I think this is going to be shootout number 2 in 3 weeks for the Ravens. Expect Lamar Jackson to have some, good numbers against the Detroit Lions. At number 2, I got Josh Allen. Yeah, man, he's just been, he's doing Josh Allen things. I mean, versus Miami, one of the worst defenses in the league. I mean, I think he's going to have a field day against that team. I think, all the whole, Buffalo as a team is going to have a field day against Miami, quite frankly. Dak Prescott at number 3 going up against your Chicago Bears. That should be obviously they have all the weapons in the world, and godly, Detroit just put up 52 points on them. Jared Goff threw for, a bajillion yards.
He only had like 7 incompletions in that game.
Damn, David. What the fuck? So Dak Prescott's got to be at number 3. Number 4, Patrick Mahomes. And then round out my top 5, David, is Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams, you got him a little too low this week. I think maybe. Caleb Williams is a top 5 quarterback. Yeah, in fantasy this week. I think if Russell Wilson can throw for 400 something yards, and I know Russell Wilson's a veteran, I think Caleb Williams with this offense could put up a lot of numbers against that Dallas defense. So I like Caleb Williams as a top 5 quarterback in fantasy this week. And then at number 6, I got Jared Goff going up against Lamar Jackson and company. I think Detroit will lean a little on that running game with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, but I like Jared Goff, especially if they get down a little bit, to put up some real wild stats against the Ravens. And then at number 7, I like Drake May. You got him at number 7. I got him at number 7. He's going against Pittsburgh, which hasn't been Pittsburgh hasn't been really the greatest defense This year. I mean, we saw what they did against you saw how they were last week against Sam Darnold.
Yes.
He put up numbers, and we saw how Justin Fields, another mobile quarterback, put up numbers. Drake May's a mobile quarterback, so I like him against Pittsburgh. I'm not saying that New England's going to get the win, but I just like Drake May to put up some stats. And then at number 8, I got Jordan Love going up against the Cleveland Browns. I just think that offense is just super balanced. I think they'll get the running game going, the play action game going. Jordan Love looks like I'm still waiting to see like a blade of grass even touch his jersey. They're keeping him upright all season, which is a good thing.
It pains me to like say stuff like this, but the Packers look unbeatable right now. Like they're just they just look so balanced on offense and defense. Like I see a lot of people that do like power rankings on YouTube and stuff. They have Packers at number 1. I can't even hate on it. Like it's just the Packers are at the Packers. Like you just add Micah Parsons, and all of a sudden this team is elevated to like. It's crazy.
I didn't realize how good the offensive line was going to be. I thought they had potential, but how good they were actually going to be through the first 2 weeks at least is something. But they got a big test though. Miles Garrett
haven't really gone up against the top flight defensive ends in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean Aiden Hutchinson,
but his first game back off that injury. I know I think he was on a limited snap count, and then the Commanders, their defense. I mean, it's not good. Like
yeah. So we'll see how they do against Miles Garrett. We'll see how they do against Miles Garrett. And then at number 9, I got Jalen Hurts going up against the LA Rams. I think that that'll be a nice game. I think there'll be some points given in that one. And then at round out my top 10 is Justin Herbert. Yeah, man, he's just they're a physical football team. They take on that run. They got a good tandem with Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton running the football, and they play off that play action. Got 3 really good wide receivers. Justin Herbert looks like he's playing on an MVP level. But going against the Denver Broncos stout defense, I would have them higher if they were going against a weaker defense. But going up against Denver is going to be a little bit of a test for the Chargers. And then I'm outside looking in. I got Bo Nix against the Chargers. I like him this week. Daniel Jones and then Baker Mayfield round out my top 10. Then my cheap options in FanDuel at 6,400. If Jaden Daniels isn't playing for the Washington Commanders, I'd go with Marcus Mariota. And then I got Carson Wentz. Starting for the Minnesota Vikings this week.
I think Jaden Daniels is going to give it a go. So I don't.
Yeah.
So
that's why I got 2. That's why I got 2. That's why I got 2 options.
But Carson Wentz is for sure getting the start. They brought in Desmond Ridder off the streets, off his couch. But I imagine that'll be Carson Wentz's show until it isn't. Until J.J. McCarthy gets back. I have a friend who's a Vikings fan. I jokingly joked with him today that the Vikings should trade for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like a full circle moment. Like let him leave Braves, and then you have to trade assets to get him back. But moving on from the pass throwers to the rock toters, let's talk about them running backs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, number 1, I got Bijan Robinson, who's pretty much looked like a top 10, a top 5 running back so far this year. Top 3 running back. I mean, you mentioned Bijan Robinson. You mentioned him in only with Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. So that's pretty good company to have him in. He's got a good matchup.
And I think his usage rate is so ridiculously high right now because they use him in the passing in the backfield, and he's become like that like escape valve for Michael Penix. I mean, he's been awesome so far this season. You would like to see him get in the end zone. I don't think he has a touch, or he has 1 touchdown, that long passing play that he's had, but I don't think he got a touchdown last week. So you would like to see him get in the end zone a little bit more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But he has a good matchup going up against the Carolina defense that really is not that good, to be quite frank. At number 2, I got Saquon Barkley going up against the Rams. I think he should have a pretty big game against them, even though they have a pretty solid front 7. I like Saquon Barkley, them to get him going. I believe that game is they're at home in that game, so home field, a little bit of home field cooking. for Saquon Barkley.
That game's in at the link.
Yeah, at the link. Yep. And then at number 3, I got Derrick Henry going up against the Detroit Lions. He had a very pedestrian game last week. I expect him to have a bounce back game in the biggest of ways this week. And then at number 4, I got James Cook going against the Miami Dolphins. I think, James Cook is going to have a field day against the Dolphins. He's going to, build on that, great, performance that he had last week. I believe it was godly. What did he have? He had about 132 yards against the New York Jets. Looking at the stats right now. And then at number 6, I got Bucky Irving. Oh no, wait, hold on, Dave. You got my rankings kind of wrong there. That's your rankings. Your rankings are right. I'm looking at your rankings here. Let me get out to my rankings. At number 6, I got Devon Achane going up against the Buffalo Bills. I think he's the only bright spot for Miami. I think if there's going to be any offensive output, it's going to go through Devon Achane. And then at number 7, at number 6, I got Christian McCaffrey. We'll see how he does, this week against Arizona, against a bit of a tougher test defensively. But I expect his usage rates to be. He's dealing with some type of injury as well. But I expect him to play. At number 7, I got Jonathan Taylor. I think that's another divisional. That might be a divisional game as well. Going into Tennessee, a little bit of a stouter defense. Tennessee's an underrated defense. Offense is still work in progress, but I'd like Jonathan Taylor to build on his performance. At number 8, I got Jahmyr Gibbs going up against the Baltimore Ravens. 9, Josh Jacobs, and then round out my top 10 is Travis Etienne, who's been very good this year for the Jacksonville Jaguars, going up against the Houston Texans in a divisional matchup. And then on the outside looking in, I got Alvin Kamara. We talked about Alvin Kamara a little bit yesterday, how me and David think that Alvin Kamara is probably most likely. I'm just kind of projecting that he may get traded here.
I think he'll get traded. The trade deadline's not until October, but I can't imagine. I don't know.
I can't imagine him being a Saint for too long. So just TBD on him. But yeah, he's definitely a guy to watch out for, especially this week going up against Seattle. He'll be have high usage. Bucky Irving as well. And then Breece Hall on my outside looking in. If you're looking for a cheap option in FanDuel at 5,500, I got Ja'Cory Bill Krosky Merritt. And if anybody's wondering who Bill is, that is the running back, the rookie running back for the Washington Commanders.
He's kind of the last of the Mohicans there.
The last of the Mohicans there, yeah.
You trade away Brian Robinson Jr. and then Austin Eckler tears his Achilles last weekend, and he's kind of the only one that's left. I'm not sure who even else they have on the roster right now.
Yeah, exactly. So if you guys are gonna roll the dice, roll your dice on Bill.
Yeah.
There you go.
Swinging from your running backs, let's talk about mine. I got number 1. I got Derrick Henry, the king. I think he's just going to have a monster game against the Detroit Lions. That should be a good game for Derrick Henry. As long as he gets the fumbling concerns under wraps, 2 weeks in a row with the fumble, I don't think it'll matter all that much, but I got Derrick Henry at number 1. Number 2, Jonathan Taylor, man. Jonathan Taylor quietly has had an incredible start to a season. The way that they're using him in the passing game is not something I really expected to see coming into this season, but he's been legit awesome so far this year. And Jonathan Taylor should continue that good play there in Tennessee. 3, Christian McCaffrey. As long as Brock Purdy is going to be out, I mean, this Niner team is going to lean on Christian McCaffrey for a majority of their offensive output. So look for him to have the kind of touch, the usage rate that he had last week. Then Bijan Robinson, I just talked about that a little bit. I still, he's really good in PPR leagues, but I just need him to get in the end zone a little more. He had that same problem last year too. Just not as many touchdowns as you'd like to see out of Bijan Robinson. James Cook III is number 5, was awesome for the Buffalo Bills last week. Look for him to continue cooking against the Miami Dolphins. And 6, Saquon Barkley. I actually completely forgot to put Saquon Barkley on my rankings, and so I had to redo them on the fly. So Saquon Barkley comes in at number 6. That's still a fairly good defense in the Rams, especially that front four. I know he have put up crazy numbers in the 2 matchups that he put up last season, but if you're the Rams, you have to have this matchup circled. Like, Saquon Barkley is not going to make us look stupid three times in a row. He might, but let's see what ends up happening. And then 7, I got Devon Achane. He's like the lone bright spot for the Miami Dolphins in that offense, as they just have sputtered coming out of the gate here. And we talked about it a little bit yesterday. If they don't win this game, or if they get embarrassed on national television or in prime time, I mean, they might give old boys walking papers there for the Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel. Number 8, Jahmyr Gibbs. That should be a high-scoring game against the Baltimore Ravens. Kyron Williams for the Los Angeles Rams. And then I got James Conner of the Arizona Cardinals. Should have a pretty good game there, passing and running for the Arizona Cardinals. And then my outside looking in, I got Bucky Irving, who had a touchdown hawked from him by Rachaad White last week, or else he would have had an absolute clinic of a day in terms of fantasy. Chase Brown, my outside looking in, a little bit like I started out so high on Chase Brown when the season started, but as the weeks have gone on, I've become less and less enamored with him. I don't really understand, like, especially now that Joe Burrow's out now, Chase Brown's usage should spike. Like, he should be getting 30+ touches easy as they transition over to Jake Browning as the starting quarterback for this football team. And then Travis Etienne, for all the reasons that Izzy said, I think he's just been so steady for this Jaguar offense so far this year. And if you've drafted him like super late in rounds, I think I have him in a bunch of leagues, and I drafted him maybe in the 9th or 10th round. I mean, you got to be really happy about the production that you're getting out of him. Ride it until it basically fizzles out, because I don't know how long you're going to have this kind of production from Travis Etienne this season. He's been banged up for most of the last 2 years. And then my sneaky daily, I got Jordan Mason, 5,400, going to be the starting running back for the Minnesota Vikings, as long as Aaron Jones is going to be out. And then Blake Corum at 4,200, backup running back to Kyron Williams for the Los Angeles Rams. He also hawked a touchdown from Kyron Williams last week. But it does seem he's going to get some goal line usage moving forward. And Blake Corum, what do you have, more touchdowns than anybody in Michigan football history while he was there, or most yards at the running back position, something crazy like that.
Yeah. I think he's one of their leading. I think he is the league Michigan leader in rushing yards or something like that for the University of Michigan. So. He's a bit of a monster. But at the NFL level, he's a bit on the shorter side of the stature. Yeah, and then the injuries kind of didn't help him. But hopefully he's back on track. And I like him at 4,200, especially he's on LA, correct? So Kyron Williams is so Kyron Williams is Kyron Williams. Are you expecting him not to play? Is he banged up or
no? He's fine. He's just if you started Blake Corum, if you started Blake Corum at 4,200, and let's say he gets 2 goal line rushing touchdowns, I mean, that's who I'm
hoping for that? Ali Gordon, right? Like the backup in Miami, I'm hoping that, he can be their goal line back, because I know for the longest it was Raheem Mostert, right? Yeah. And so he replaced Raheem Mostert.
It's crazy for considering Raheem Mostert a goal line back. He's like, he ran like a crazy 40-yard dash, like
4.340. Yeah, he's so fast.
The dude, like Raheem Mostert, I think has one of the fastest rushing touchdowns in the history of the league. Like,
against the Packers, by the way. Against the Packers, by the way. That should put a smile on your face.
I always like it when the Packers can get dissed a little bit, because it's not happening. Moving on from the rock toters to the pass catchers, I got CeeDee Lamb at number 1 going against my Chicago Bears. Should have a field day against that secondary and that defense for the Chicago Bears. And then Puka Nacua, I mean, what else needs to be said about Puka Nacua? He's just been Mr. Consistent when it comes to fantasy this season. His target share is insane. His usage rate is nuts. Look at it continue going up against the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday afternoon. And then number 3, Jamar Chase. A little bit lower on Jamar Chase than the consensus. I guess I'm higher than you are on Jamar Chase, but I just, going with Jake Browning. I know his target share was absurd last week. I think he had 14 catches in that game, so I think they're still going to look for him. But his ceiling is definitely lower now without Joe Burrow under center. For Nico Collins going up against Jacksonville not the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hold on, who are they playing again?
Nico Collins.
It is the Jaguars.
They're playing the Jags. Yeah.
And then number 5, Jackson Smith-Njigba, had a monster game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that kind of production will continue as they go up against the New Orleans Saints, who don't really have a good secondary. And I thought I was high on Jackson Smith-Njigba, and then I saw where you have him, and I was like, man. Maybe I'm behind on the apple cart here. And then number 6, I got the Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions, coming off that fresh 3-touchdown game against my Chicago Bears. 7, Justin Jefferson. I'm super concerned about. Not only has he not been that good when he did have J.J. McCarthy, but now you're making a quarterback change to Carson Wentz, who hasn't played a game, I think, in 2 years, something like that. I think the target share will still be there for Justin Jefferson, but I'm concerned about what this offense is going to look like without him because they haven't played well for 7 of the 8 quarters so far this season. And I just don't think that'll get better with the quarterback change. Number 8, Malik Neighbors going up against Kansas City. I think that defense is going to be tough. I see where you have Malik Neighbors. I'm just not that high on him this week. I don't think he's going to repeat his performance from the week ago with 2 touchdowns and like 150 yards receiving. I just don't think that's realistic. And then number 9, I got Zay Flowers of the Baltimore Ravens. And rounding out the top 10, I got BTJ of the Jacksonville Jaguars in Duval County. I do expect Derek Stingley to be on him. That's not a great matchup for any wide receiver in the National Football League. And then outside looking in, A.J. Brown, how the mighty have fallen. I think he's had 2 really poor performances. Like, not really poor, but just not really involved in the offense. Like, they're not really feeding him the rock. They're not really passing the football a lot there in Philadelphia either. If I'm an AJ Brown owner, which I am not, I would be super concerned if he's even remotely a wide receiver 2 at this point, because I think there are better options of names that aren't his household, like a Drake London or Emeka Ibuka, who you have on your side over there. I mean, I think AJ Brown has that name, that recognition. Like, people are like, oh, AJ Brown, but he hasn't been good this season. Let's call a spade a spade. He hasn't been involved in the offense. So I think there are better options if you have other people that you can start over AJ Brown. 2, Mike Evans, still going to go with him over Ibuka, but it's hard to disagree with your take over there. And then 3, Jake London of the Atlanta Falcons, going up against the Carolina Panthers. Should see J.C. Horn for majority of that game. And then my sneaky and daily, I got Cedric Tillman. Caught that crazy touchdown in that beatdown by the Cleveland Browns, by the Baltimore Ravens. But he's had a touchdown in back-to-back weeks. I think he's the pass-catching option you want in Cleveland. And then Mac Hollins, 3,100, caught a touchdown from Mac Jones. Seems to have a rapport just wherever he goes, and they just get him the jump ball, and Mac Hollins will come down with it. 3,100, not a bad value at the wide receiver position for the New England Patriots starter.
Yeah. So I like that Emeka Ibuka kid. I mean, golly. I mean, he was just amazing at Ohio State, and he's looking like a hell of a pro. All those Ohio State wide receivers. And speaking of an Ohio State wide receiver, my number 1 wide receiver is from Ohio State, and that's Jackson Smith-Njigba for the Seattle Seahawks. He's having an amazing season so far. I think he possibly could lead the league in receiving yards this year. I think I think that's a big possibility. Him and Malik Neighbors, who's at number 2. I like both of those guys' usage rate, especially if Neighbors has Russell Wilson throwing him the football. Expect deep balls, going his way. I know going against Kansas City, a little bit of a tougher defense, but they've lost. I mean, golly, can I say they're tough still? I don't know.
What?
I don't know. Can I say Kansas City's still tough? Can I say they're still a tough defense?
Their defense has played okay. I know they haven't won a game yet this season, but it hasn't really been their defense that's the reason they're not winning games. Their offense looks terrible.
And number 3, CeeDee Lamb At number 4, I got Puka Nacua. CeeDee Lamb going against the Chicago Bears. I think should have a great game. And then at number 4, I got Puka Nacua going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. He had a pretty good game in the divisional game last year in the snow. If I'm not mistaken, he caught that long pass at the end of the game. But he had a pretty good game against Philly, so I expect him to have a pretty good game this week against Philly. And then number 5, the Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown, going up against Baltimore. I looked for him. He had 3 touchdowns last week. I looked at him to, kind of keep it going against Baltimore. And then at number 6, Zay Flowers, who's quietly having a pretty good year so far this year for the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, he's like Lamar Jackson. Him and DeAndre Hopkins are Lamar Jackson's favorite targets at the wide receiver position. Zay Flowers, by a long shot, is his favorite. And then at number 7, we got Justin Jefferson. 8, Jamar Chase. And that's interesting one because they're both going against each other, right? So expect each other to look up. But these two guys would technically be higher. I don't know about Justin Jefferson this year because J.J. McCarthy's throwing the ball. He might be a little higher this week because Carson Wentz is going to throw the ball, though. But Jamar Chase should definitely be higher if he had Joe Burrow throwing him the football this week. And then number 9, Nico Collins. And rounding out the top 10 is Rome Odunze. I don't know if you got Rome Odunze in your top 10, but Rome has been playing excellent. And he had a pretty damn good game last week, and I expect Rome Odunze to keep it going. He looks like the number 1 target for Caleb Williams so far, and is the number 1 target for Caleb Williams, even though you don't agree with me that he's the number 1, he's wide receiver 1. Technically, it's DJ Moore, but he's finding Rome a lot this season. Now, my outside looking in, I got Brian Thomas Jr., Emeka Egbuka, who we were just talking about, and Jawan Jennings from the San Francisco 49ers, who, had that, he had what was it, like a 50, 60-yard touchdown catch or something like that last week with Mac Jones throwing him the football. He had 10 targets, 5 catches, 59 yards, a touchdown. So I expect Jawan Jennings to have a pretty dang, good outing this week against Arizona as well. And then if you're looking for some cheap options in FanDuel at 5,800, we got Quentin Johnston going up against the Denver Broncos.
Back-to-back weeks with a touchdown for Quentin Johnston.
Back-to-back weeks with a touchdown. At 5,600, we got Keon Coleman. I had him last week in top 13. I like Keon Coleman this week to probably get a touchdown for you against Miami. He has I'm not sure how. Buffalo was getting it going on the ground, and I don't think Keon Coleman was really needed so much. But I think he'll bounce back in a big way. And then at 5,100, a rookie, Elic Iomanner, who looks like the number 1 target for Cam Ward down there in Tennessee. Big target. He caught that 1 touchdown pass I was throwing across the field. It was nuts. Yeah. So Elic Iomanner, he's one of those guys, dude. Hey, one night. He burned Travis Hunter in Colorado for like 300 yards when they played in college. Yeah, it was Stanford versus Colorado. And he's one of those guys that if he gets hot and he gets that confidence, man, he's really unstoppable. He's a big body wide receiver. He runs great routes. He's a little sneaky fast, and he's strong, good in the open field as well. I like Iomanner to keep it going. 5,100 is really cheap for him. I expect him to keep climbing up the ranks.
Yeah, Elic Iomanner is also very cheap in DraftKings. I don't remember the exact number, but yeah, he's one of those guys that, like, if I'm looking to save money, I can go. I think he's worth an absolute dart throw when it comes to the Tennessee. And I know the Colts have been a little bit stifling on defense, but I think that I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
No. Moving on from wide receivers, let's talk about them bulkier pass catchers. Let's swing into the tight end position, and we have the same guy at number 1. I'm all in on the Kraft dinner, brother.
Yeah, we're in on the Kraft dinner, man. Oh my gosh, yeah, Tucker Kraft.
Man, we got the same guys all top 5. We got the same guys.
Yeah, Tucker Kraft last week was just absolutely phenomenal. 6 catches, 124 yards, a touchdown. He looks like the focal point of that offense. Especially now with like Jaden Reed out now and still Christian Watson out. You can't really rely on your two rookies with Matthew Golden, Savion Williams are still trying to get used to the NFL. I know you got Romeo Dobbs.
And you got, what is it, Dontavian
Wicks. But Tucker Kraft looks like he's going to be the main option for Jordan Love, especially in those play action scenarios. So I like Tucker Kraft. He's going to have high usage in the passing game. And number 2, I got Tyler Warren, another rookie who's just balling this year out of Penn State. Tyler Warren. He was a Mr. Do-It-All.
I wish that the Bears had taken Tyler Warren over Colston Loveland. Like they were both there when they had the draft pick, and I don't understand. Like, I don't want to go on a tangent, but I don't understand why the Bears are not using Colston Loveland more. Like he should be a matchup nightmare at the tight end position. You can run a lot of 2 tight end sets. Like he just doesn't he's not involved enough in the passing game for me. It's kind of pissed me off.
Yeah. So with this guy, well, think about it. If they had Tyler Warren, they probably would be doing this. They probably would be wasting Tyler Warren. Because he's a do-it-all. He's a do-it-all guy. You know, a funny story background. Tyler Warren actually was a quarterback in high school, right?
I mean, a lot of people were quarterbacks in high school.
Yeah, like he was like a full-fledged quarterback in high school. Like he was recruited to be a quarterback. And when he went
so is what Joshua Cribbs.
Yeah, they converted him over to tight end. But can you believe a guy that size? Like being
I can.
Okay. Yes, you're right, David. I guess you're right. But he was a quarterback, and he's also a great tight end, and he's a great blocking tight end. He's a great running back. And they Penn State, they use him in running back scenarios, and they're even doing the same thing kind of in Indy, right? He had a carry last week, didn't do much. He had a carry the week before, didn't do much, but they're still utilizing him in certain like gadget kind of scenarios where he gets a snap or whatever the case is. But
I will say Tyler Warren did not practice today. So if you have Tyler Warren, I would have a backup plan. He's dealing with some sort of toe injury, which has kind of been the theme of this season so far. Toe injuries are galore. But yeah, he didn't practice today, so keep an eye on his status as we get closer to it. But I expect him to be all good to go when it comes down to game time. But yeah, just keep an eye on his status.
Absolutely. And then number 3, I got Brock Bowers going into Washington. That's a get-right game for Geno Smith and company. I think he gets targeted a lot in that game. And number 4, I got Trey McBride. Going to get up against the San Francisco defense that's pretty stout, still on the road, but he should get a lot of targets. And then number 5, I got Jawan Johnson, who's certainly looking like a top 5 tight end this year down there in New Orleans. I mean, there's you got Chris Olave and him and whoever the hell else. But it looks Rashid Shaheed, and so it looks like Spencer Rattler really looks as Jawan Johnson as
that touchdown he caught on Sunday was stupid nice. Like the rotation, like getting the knees in. I'm still not totally sure that's counted as a touchdown, but whatever.
Yeah, we'll see. And then at number 6, I got Travis Kelce. He's still getting the target share. He's just not the old Travis Kelce that we're used to and accustomed to. But I guess against New York, where Dallas
the lights are going to be bright, man. I mean,
the lights are going to be bright. You'll have Taylor Swift over there and everybody else looking at her. I think Travis Kelce had performed really good. And then number 7, I got Sam Laporta. 8, Jake Ferguson. 9, T.J. Hawkinson. And then round up the top 10 is Kyle Pitts Sr. And at number 9 for T.J. Hawkinson, we talked a little bit at the beginning of the show about guys that who are kind of virtually unstartable at this point. And you picked them kind of high. I wouldn't say like high, but as maybe he was probably first top 7, top 5 tight ends to come off the board.
He's probably, after Trey McBride and Brock Bowers 1, 2. You could make the argument TJ Hawkinson is in that next cluster of guys. Like he's with Travis Kelce, Sam Laporta, himself, and then so those 3 guys are like the next guys up, and TJ Hawkinson just hasn't been remotely good.
Not remotely good, and it's due to his quarterback situation. And we'll see if it's Carson Wentz makes a difference for him this week. But obviously, the plan is for JJ McCarthy to be the quarterback this year and for the future. And so that highly affects TJ Hawkinson. So if you had somebody else like me, I picked up Jawan Jennings because that's how He was just there after week 1. I don't know how he was there. And so, like, Juwan Jennings, but Juwan Johnson. And he was there after week 1. I picked him up like on a waiver wire in a couple leagues. In one of my leagues, I have TJ Hawkinson. I think it's greatest people, and I'm probably gonna take him out, start a lineup, and put Juwan Johnson in there to start over him until I can see something formidable from TJ Hawkinson. I think everybody should probably do that. Just giving some advice.
Would you be willing to trade TJ Hawkinson? Let's talk about that later.
Yeah, we can talk about that later. Hey, you know what, ladies and gentlemen? That's how fantasy goes. There's 2 guys talking fantasy football, and then, hey, you think about trading TJ Hawkinson? You want to trade TJ Hawkinson?
Yeah.
And then Ronald on top 10 is Kyle Pitts Sr. He was actually one of the guys that people were like not high on this season, and he's actually been okay.
Yeah, I have Kyle Pitts is in my top 10 for the first time in, I want to say, a calendar year, because I've been all out on Kyle Pitts, but I liked what I've seen out of him and the report he has from Mike Penix. Like, it's been nice to see him actually being used as like a focal point of the offense, because he was basically invisible the last season and a half for the Atlanta Falcons and Kyle Pitts.
Absolutely. And then on my outside looking in, I got David Njoku, Zach Ertz, and Hunter Henry. And then my cheap options in FanDuel are Harold Finin Jr., who caught a few balls. I think he had probably 5 or 6 targets. He's getting the ball a lot. I mean, they're running 2 tight end sets. He's super athletic. They put him with David Njoku, and they kind of attack the seams. And Harold Finin is at 5,200 is somebody to look out for. And then at 4,600, who's super cheap, is Jatavion Sanders, the tight end out of Carolina, who last week had 9 targets, 7 catches, 54 yards. The only thing he was missing was a touchdown. He would have been definitely in the top 10 status last week. So that's something to keep an eye out for. But we've seen Jatavion Sanders have these really good weeks where he's targeted a lot, and then the next week he's targeted 3 times like he was in the first week, right? So I guess it just depends on the offense and the flow of the game. Carolina was kind of in comeback mode a little bit, so they're airing it out a bit. So we'll see how they are against Atlanta. But he's definitely a guy to look out for, for in that offense. So.
Moving on from your tight ends, let's talk about mine. And our first 5 guys are virtually the same. Tucker Kraft, Tyler Warren. We kind of talked about them enough. I don't have to bring them up again. Trey McBride, number 3. A little bit higher on Trey McBride than you are, but not by much. 4, Brock Bowers. 5, Juwan Johnson. Yeah, if you haven't seen the touchdown that he caught from Spencer Rattler in that game that they ended up losing to the San Francisco 49ers, go check it out. It's pretty impressive. His body control and getting the knee down at the pylon. Just really he's spinning too to catch the ball on the back shoulder fade. Beautiful throw by Spencer Rattler too. So shout out to Spencer Rattler. And then number 6, I got Sam Laporta. I think the Lions offense is humming now. Look for him to be more of a focal point in the offense, kind of like he was 2 years ago. And then TJ Hawkinson, I do think the switching up the quarterback position, getting a Carson Wentz in there, who's more of a passer, I guess. I don't know what Carson Wentz is at this point in his career. He just kind of been a backup quarterback holding a clipboard, just moving around from place to place at this point. He hasn't started in a game in 2 years, so it'll be interesting to see what he looks like. But I think TJ Hawkinson bounces back in this week. And I think he has a pretty solid game. 8, Travis Kelce. Yeah, I know the prime time, big lights of Sunday Night Football. I think he'll get back to where he used to be eventually, but I'm not sure if this will be the game. He may have to block a little bit in this game too, because that giant front 4 has been stout this season. And then 9, Kyle Pitts Sr. I talked about it. It's nice to see him being back as a focal point in the offense. And then Evan Ingram at number 10, big time free agency signing. He picked the Broncos kind of over the Chargers, so I'm sure he's going to want to prove that, hey, I'm still Evan Ingram, because he hasn't been good yet this season, and he's kind of been outplayed by Adam Troutman just a little bit. But I think this is a game where Evan Ingram kind of has a really good, hey, I'm still Evan Ingram. And then I got Zach Ertz, David Njoku, Hunter Henry in my outside looking in. I just think that those guys are old, reliable tight ends that, if you need a guy in a pinch, I think you roll the dice. And then A.J. Barner at 3,000, coming off a touchdown for the Seattle Seahawks last week. But A.J. Barner is another one of those guys like Jatavion Sanders. A.J. Barner will have a touchdown. You'll get really excited about his potential, and then he'll go 2 weeks without a catch. So that's you're absolutely throwing an absolute dart throw on A.J. Barner. He may boom, he may bust completely. So That's kind of the nature of sneaky and daily. That's how DraftKings works. So
that is definitely how the sneakies and daily. Definitely.
From the tight ends, let's swing over to the other side of the football. Let's talk about defense. And number one, I got the Green Bay Packers going up against the Cleveland Browns. Packers also my lock of the week. So please don't let me down, Green Bay. Two Tampa Buccaneers. I think that's a good matchup for Tampa Bay. They go up against a team like the Jets. Probably going to be Tyrod Taylor under center. And we kind of know what Tyrod Taylor is at this point in his career. Tampa Bay should have a good matchup. I know they lost Conchi to a torn pec, which is tough, but that defense overall is pretty solid. The Seattle Seahawks and number 3, they also have a good matchup going up against the Spencer Rattler and the New Orleans Saints. The Atlanta Falcons going up against the Carolina Panthers. Given what that defense looked like last week against Minnesota, I mean, they may have had their best performance as a defense in years. That game against Minnesota. And then the Indianapolis Colts going up against Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans. Although that game could end up becoming high scoring, but the Colts should have a good defense, good game plan there for Cam Ward. And then my outside looking in, I got Bills, Commanders, and Steelers. I just like the matchups in all 3 of those games with Miami, Raiders, and then and then the Patriots, respectively, in those 3 matchups. So I think that's a pretty good defensive matchups for the Steelers and Commanders and Bills. And then my sneaky daily 2,800 Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are definitely a good play this week. With their matchup. I think
because it's so we both had Drake May in our top 10 when it comes to the quarterback position, but it's not Drake May that I'm concerned about when it comes to New England and why I think the Steelers defense is a good play this week. It's everybody around him. Like I think that they don't really have a true number 1 wide receiver. I mean, when Hunter Henry is your number 1 pass catching option at the tight end position, and their running game has been basically non-existent. I think Drake May's fantasy value is going to come from him running the football. So I think the Steelers can get a couple turnovers and really have a dynamic game on the defensive side, while Drake May still has a good day in fantasy. So,
yeah, no, absolutely. And when I look at it, man, I mean, like I said, like Ramondre Stevenson, he had 21, fantasy points last week. But that's all because they evolved him in the passing game. He had 5 catches, 88 yards. Somebody we kind of missed on our running back rankings a little bit. I think we probably should have showed him a little love maybe on FanDuel or DraftKings. But needless to say, you are right.
The thing is, I just don't trust that Patriot backfield right now because like all the hype coming into the preseason was about Travion Henderson. That people thought he would take Ramondre Stevenson's job immediately. And I mean, let's be real. Travion Henderson has been a non-factor so far this season.
Non-factor.
And then they got Antonio Gibson, who they kind of use in third down back situations. Yep. I just don't trust any of those scenarios with any of those running backs. Like I don't want to have to start any of them.
And then in the red zone, that is why we have Drake May, because they use him a lot to score touchdowns in the red zone. Number 1 is the Green Bay Packers. They've been playing phenomenal defense all season long. Adding Michael Parsons just takes them to another level. That kind of like that Khalil Mack status. I kind of privied to because it's the Green Bay Packers. It wasn't in free agency, it was through a trade, but kind of like a Reggie White-esque kind of impact on the Green Bay Packers, right? That could possibly take that defense is taking that defense to another level. We could take them maybe to the Super Bowl and beyond, right? Winning the Super Bowl this year. But the Green Bay Packers are great going against an aged, savvy veteran in Joe Flacco, but he's way over the hill, past the hill, and he's gonna make some mistakes against that Packers defense. Then number 2, we got the Buffalo Bills going up against the Miami Dolphins. Yes, I don't believe Miami's gonna put up numbers against Buffalo. It didn't happen last week against I forgot who the hell they played.
Tua did put up over 20 fantasy points. I mean, they did score a little bit against the New England Patriots last week.
It's the Patriots.
Yeah.
It's the Patriots. So going up against a better defense in Buffalo. And then number 3, I like the Indianapolis Colts this week. I'm super high on the Indianapolis Colts going up against Tennessee against Cam Ward, who's a rookie still. They don't really have a running game either. They have, pretty much, their best wide receiver, I think, in my opinion, is Eli Manor. So Tennessee has a lack of weapons there. So I like Indianapolis to have a really good week this week against them. And then number 4, I like the Seattle Seahawks against New Orleans, who we all think, New Orleans is pretty much in tank mode this year, just trying to see who to keep and who not to keep for next year. So I like the Seahawks to really, cause some havoc on that against that offense. And number 5, I got the Kansas City Chiefs going up against New York. Even though I think Russell Wilson could put up some yards on them, and they might be able to move the ball a little bit. I think he's going to be prone to throw a couple interceptions.
If you think for a second there that Russell Wilson's going to throw for over 400 yards,
400 yards again,
you're kidding yourself.
yeah, especially if you own them. Yeah, so tread lightly with that going against Kansas City. I like them to be a top 5 defense, and also this is a get right game for them. They're looking at this like, so for example, David, coaching football for my son's team. We go against we're probably the best 10U silver team, right? There's a gold team and there's a gold there's 2 gold teams and then there's 3 silver teams. We're probably the best silver team, right? We went against the 0-3 gold team, right, in our league, in the same age group. And that 10U gold team looked super like they were like had a pep in their step. They didn't look like an 0-3 team. They looked fast. They looked like they were ready to prove something. They looked like they were out for blood. And when it's a football team that is like hungry and they're coming off losses and they're looking to prove themselves, like any other football team, we're gonna go from pee-wee to professional now. The Kansas City Chiefs are looking to get a get-right game. I think that defense is going to come out with their hair on fire against New York. I think they possibly could be up there as a top 3 defense when it's all said and done. Now, outside looking in, I got the Broncos, Chargers. I honestly think that game is going to be like a super cat and mouse game between the Broncos and the Chargers. I don't think it's going to be high scoring at all. Even though I tend
to agree with you on that take.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like a cat and mouse, nip and tuck, maybe a low scoring. Maybe it's not going to go into the 20s, probably in the teens. And I think, you can look for both of those defenses to probably have about 8 to 10 points, in my opinion. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers are on my outside looking in as well. I like Pittsburgh at New England just for the very fact, David mentioned that offense is still young. They don't have a lot of weapons outside of Drake May. He's the only guy that is probably worthy of starting on that team, on that offense. And then at 3,500, I like the Cincinnati Bengals this week going up against the Minnesota Vikings. If I'm going to pick a defense that's going to be better than the other in that game, and honestly, at that number, 3,500 is really cheap. I like the Bengals to get to kind of, they got Trey Hendrickson. They're going to get after the quarterback. I mean, they had a couple picks in the first week of the season. They're getting after the quarterback this year so far. So I like them to get after Carson Wentz and force him into some bad throws. And at 3,100, I might be rolling the dice a little bit too much on this one, but I got the Las Vegas Raiders as one of my sneaky options in FanDuel because they're going to get Washington. And that's only because
if Marcus Mariota ends up getting the start, I like that as a sneaky daily.
Yes, exactly. That was my thing. If Marcus Mariota gets a start at 3,100, super cheap. I would actually put in my picks now while they're still that because I'm sure towards game day, if Marcus Mariota is starting, that number is going to go up a little bit higher by game day. Yeah.
But yeah, that's been our week 3 fantasy football rankings for 2025. But before we get up out of here, like we do every single week, Izzy, do you know who the number 1 scorer in fantasy was last week?
Oh, had to be Russell Wilson.
No, Russell Wilson was number 6 with 30.3 fantasy points. 5
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff was number 3 with 33.96.
Oh, Amon-Ra St. Brown was number 1.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun god, was number 1. 39.2 fantasy points to round out the top 5. Malik Neighbors, Jamar Chase, and then your boy, Rome Odunze, was number 5. And shockingly, Windale Robinson was number 7 with 28.2 points, with 8 catches for 142 yards and a touchdown. Everybody was cooking there in New York.
Everybody was cooking, bro. Everybody was cooking.
But when it's all said and done, who's going to be the number 1 scorer in fantasy in week number 3?
Oh, man. In week number 3, that's a good one. Give me Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's my number 1 wide receiver this week. I like Jackson Smith and Jigba to have an Amon-Ra St. Brown-esque type of game. 2-3 touchdowns, maybe over 150 yards, 10 catches, something like that.
Yeah, I'm going to go wide receiver, but I'm not going to go a different team, a different player. I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb going up against my Chicago Bears. I think that should be a good day for CeeDee Lamb at the office. I still hope the Chicago Bears can pull up the victory, but CeeDee Lamb should get his numbers, and I think they're going to feed him the rock early and often in that game. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us here at Prime Sports World. This has been our Week 3 Fantasy Football Rankings. If you have any comments or you have any questions for us, leave them down in the comments section. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast if you like what we're doing here. I'm David Huppin, Izzy Rivera. And Izzy, what do we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat, ladies and gentlemen. Bringing the heat 24/7.
Yes, sir. We'll be back here on Friday with College Football Showdown. If you want to miss any of that content, you guys all take care and stay safe. Peace out. And good luck in fantasy this week. And I will message you about TJ Hawkinson right now. So.
Oh, yeah. We gotta talk. Man. We gotta talk.
All right.